No, they didn't, because they didn't ask. They said free founders equity. That's all they know.
So we shouldn't go back then and say, hey,
No, well, why? Why? You tell me why.
Because maybe just before the acquisition...
No, you know when you're going to find out? At the first board meeting.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's when they found out what they're going to get.
Because you don't even know the implication. How are they going to work? So
because the people that are really... God, you have been around such low performers all your life. You don't get it. They're not worried about the money. Rich people, they don't worry about that shit like that. They don't worry that they work 30 minutes overtime. They don't worry about taking days off. Only your poor fucking family, grunt cocksuckers that have no money care. Do you think Elon Musk worries about his overtime? Do you think anybody... Guys, I'm just telling you. You're so far off base with these fucking questions, you have no idea. Josh Kim said 95% of all the shit I worried about didn't happen in 3 years. That's including questions. Your questions are based and pivot off your own insecurities. How much am I going to make on this deal? You're thinking. Well, if I give this guy 2 and this guy 3 and this guy 2, that's 2 or 4, 7, that's 7% less than I have. And that's 7% closer to my 50.1%, they're going to cut my head off. That's what your subconscious is telling you. Comments about the kid, other than he knows how to sell.
What's his background?
Sales, direct sales. Direct sales. Yeah.
Practice the scripts.
Yeah, well, practice the scripts. And he can sell. Now, the younger kids are going to have to reclose. When I close, I only close once, but I'm a hammer, okay? And he sounds like a hammer, but he has to, the younger you are, normally the more you have to close and reclose, because then they, for whatever reason, he's just a kid, maybe I accepted the position too soon, blah, blah, blah. And he recloses, which is modern, not even modern, but it's sales 101. You always reclose. What else about the kid? Yeah.
Yeah, heavyweight board right away.
Well, he went after heavyweights. He's not the only one. The Bulgarian bitch. You go after people you don't have to explain about the best you can. Now, don't be calling Bush or those guys are so conflicted out they can't go on boards. Don't call ex-KKR chairman or CEO, because they won't be able to do it. But if you remember, he said he had the ex-KPMG for Canada. That's different than USA. The USA, I'm sure, would be conflicted. You had a question? Who had somebody's hand? Okay. Question.
No, just a comment. So, he really drilled into it and told himself he has to complete the acquisition in 90 days. So he had that.
Well, anybody that's had any fucking sales experience, you got quotas. I used to have hourly quotas. Fuck that daily shit. A lot of bad shit can happen in a day. I used to come in, how many fucking sales we made since noon? It's now 12:48. How many sales have we made since noon, lard asses? You've never held yourself accountable. Hence, you will have, in the beginning, if you follow the scripts, you're going to have trouble. Most human beings have trouble when you're 30 years old holding a 65-year-old guy accountable. That's the way it is. And if I have to explain to you why, you're beyond help. And the 20-year-olds have more trouble holding a 60-year-old. No matter, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. You'll think about, but it's tough getting the fucking words out of your mouth. And that's just because the way, in the Asian countries, in Japan, my gray hair means something. In New York City, it doesn't mean dick. And you will have, but if you follow the scripts and you don't even think about it, like he just said, and not just him, but I don't think about it, I just do it. Just do it. And the lack of those actions will take you longer and longer and longer. But I mean, he's operating according to the format, and the new format is based on the last couple of years' results. And the guys and gals that are doing this, part-time, active military, blah, 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 being deployed overseas and still getting it done. So for you lazy asses with your thumbs up your ass, well, you know, when I say that this is a slam fucking dunk, it's a slam fucking dunk. It's a slam fucking dunk. But obviously, you know, he's got enthusiasm, he's got energy. The people that are asking the questions, I mean, don't have any fraction of the energy of the guy that was talking. But and as I've told you, and I'm not blowing smoke on my own backside, I mean, I've been accused of a lot of things, most of which is true, but lack of enthusiasm has never been one of them. Lack of enthusiasm. I mean, enthusiasm gets you a long goddamn way. Why do you think they jack up sports teams? Get all... for the same reason. It's exactly the same reason. And he's doing a great job. And then you see what he's accomplished since. He's done. And he went to the July seminar. So his 90 days ends in about a week. And you can do it. And you can do it. Anything else about the kid? And in Canada, because a lot of people say, well, Canada, you can't do it. Well, I'm so tired. You can't do it in Romania. You can't do it in Hungary. You can't do it in Canada. You can't. That's all horseshit. You can do it wherever you know. There are 2 or 3 places where it is more difficult to do it. You can still do it. One of which is Russia. They have extra speed bumps, and it's normally called this, backhand. You have to have pockets full of cash. You can go. You can get to see the president of the equivalent of the Federal Reserve of Russia. Just have a bunch of cash and just. You're paying every guy until you get to him. But you get to see him one day. Just come with a lot of cash, a lot of rubles. You know, not rupees, rubles. I mean, you can't carry enough rupees on your body. Enough lakhs, enough crows. Any questions about the kid? Now he's not perfect, but he's as close to perfect as we produced this year out of the blocks. He's as close, and he's a little behind the timeline. He's maybe 10 days behind, but but he'll finish under the 90 days. And and we have other people, but don't want to show their face, not interested in helping. Most of the kids, I'm on board, pull up the gangplank, fuck you. The market's small enough, we don't need me teaching Dan's fucking meatheads. And that's the way the real world is, though. So to a certain extent, Tom's a pleaser to please me to do this. So I take advantage of it, But most of the kids don't want to talk to you. They don't give a fuck. You die in the saddle. You know how Dan tells somebody, let them all die in the saddle, Mr. Peña? But we have enough of them that want to please me. And speaking of that, I'm seeing Simon the Bell in Hong Kong. I just, the appointment, thanks Simon. And I'm seeing one of my other stars who is from that part of the world, who's rolling up mining and smeltering and businesses. Any questions about the kid? So don't tell me you can't do it in 90 fucking days. I know you could do it in 45 days. But Okay, now, we're back. Remember, they told you why they wouldn't do the loan. You ask them, what was the credit that you thought was approved that didn't get approved and why? You're asking that question of the banks, remember? And and when they do say no to you, you say, well, what is it about the credit that I can change to make it acceptable? And if they're willing to enter into that dialogue, you got them. I don't mean got them in a bad way, but you got them because they're going to tell you. And some of the most innocuous reasons why it didn't get approved come out. I mean, in the credit cycle, we had, there's normally 2 or 3 people that chair their credit committees. You got the asshole, of the bank, and so you don't know that, so just put it in again. Now, one of the things that the kids normally don't do when they get rejected, they just turn away with their tail between their legs and they walk away. That's the beginning of the fight. Now, I have done this. I do not recommend this. And then you have a fiduciary responsibility to your shareholders for not taking this credit. You're fucking the shareholders. And I got this whole, and I believe it's in one of the templates. And I rant and rave about they have a fiduciary responsibility, corporate governance. You are dishonoring your shareholder, blah, 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 blah. And once in a while I flip them. Once in a while. But when you tell that guy that, he takes it on personally. Remember, there's no thing is constructive criticism. He automatically, you're his enemy in the bank now. So you asked, I want to see another person. I want to see another senior credit officer. And his little penis will suck up into his fucking groin because then he's worried, what is he going to tell the bank about me? Why, he gets defensive. But that's okay, because he's already your enemy. He's never going to help you with the credit. Now, real bankers that work with you will say, they'll tell you, no, you don't want to frame it this way. You want to frame it this way. And so I said, what is the best format to frame when we submit the package? And I've let the bankers frame it, put it together. And they will sometimes. Now, some of the bankers will say, oh, fuck, I like this kid. Or, I went to, whatever the reason. Doesn't matter why they like you. Well, it does. I'm not talking about sexual harassment kind of. I'm talking about that. But and they'll just want to work with you and they want to help you. And when you get a banker like that, you ride him like a fucking rented mule until his legs fall off. You don't do anything bad. You don't ask him to do anything bad, but I mean, you keep going back. Now, when a banker leaves a bank, as long as it's lateral, you don't want to reinvent the wheel, you can go with him. But when he or she is taking a lesser position, because sometimes new banks will say, okay, in a year you'll be a senior VP, but now you have to be an assistant VP, and that's bullshit. So if they're taking a lateral position, you go with them. Of course, if they're taking a senior position, you go with them. That's a no-brainer. But part of the reason, because you don't want to reinvent the wheel, but the second part is he has promised the bank business. And if he takes the 3 or 5 or 8 of his top 20 customers, he can better illustrate that he's going to be able to bring a lot of business to the bank sooner than later. When you make moves like that in banks, sometimes let's say that the guy was getting a half a point on every loan he made. They may triple it. He may get 1.5 points on every loan for the first 6 or 12 or 36 months that they're there, so they can have an ability to generate more revenue for themselves. And again, you're coming into the perfect, the eye of the tiger, the perfect storm, because of the time frame we're coming in, because of the 75% of all bank transactions happen in the last 45 to 60 days of the year, and that's basically so people get bonuses, year-end bonuses. So now you had this one deal. So now it's your job, your task, just to, as Tom alluded to, cookie cutter it. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. With bigger deals, bigger deals, bigger deals. And then as he talked about, when a $50 million target and the $250 million target, I told you the $25 million target first of all. But 1, 3, 5, 7, etc. This is top line revenue. And he did catch on. Top line revenue is absolutely paramount. You can always find somebody to show you how to cut costs. And I'm not demeaning bean counter accountants, but you can always find some bean counter to show you how to cut costs. Or you can use the Sally Peña method, just fire everybody on day 2, and all of a sudden you're positive cash flow. It's like a miracle, you know. Okay, so now you're cookie cutter, and you've worked your way up to, you've got, let's say, $25-30 million top line, and now you've built up equity. And if you listen to what I say, you're going to still have over 50%, so you're going to have control. Okay? So let's just make it simple. You're going to have, probably in 25 million, there's going to be probably 10 million in equity built up, of which 5 will be yours because you're 50%, and 5 will be the board. It'll probably be a lot more than, you'll probably have 6 or 7 of the 10 in equity. So now, God forbid that you bring in outside money, you've got something to bargain with because you've got real skin in the game, not just other people's skin. But you'll continue to use the seller's finance as seller's equity, as he pointed out, okay? But now you've got your equity and the seller's equity. And although, I mean, for 50 basis points or 0.5% doesn't kill these deals, but I mean, you'll be able to tighten down on the terms. But now I'm one of the guys that didn't care about how many fees I paid, or I really didn't care about the terms, as long as I could push out, as long as I could, the majority of the repayment, which we've discussed. Rarely was I able to push out interest and principal all the way out to a balloon, but I quite often was able to push out principal payments at the end of the balloon. And then when you get to the balloon, okay, now let's say you have a 5-year balloon. In other words, you're paying, you paid interest, but now the bulk of the loan's due. Then you sit down and refinance. And see, you still don't want to pay the balloon. You don't still want to. Now, it's not likely that the bank will be pissed off because they've been waiting. But so, well, I mean, these other 2 banks aren't pissed off. I would rather stay with you. You know, we've worked together. We built this, but I got bank 2 and 3 over here. I don't want to leave you. You know I loves you, but I don't want to leave you, but I'll go to these other 2 banks. And 50% of the time, they'll do the refinance. They'll be a little pissed off, but they'll do the refinance. And if they don't, then the other bank 2, 3, or 4 will do the refinance, and you push the fucking thing out. Now, I've had guys push out the bulk payment till they went public. I mean, several years. And they pissed off 2 or 3 or 4 banks, but they've continued to push off the payments. And with current interest rates, I mean, it's criminal. I mean, how low interest rates are now. It's just criminal. I got an email from one of the Hall of Famers. He's done, I think he said, $51 million in business purchases this year, and at an average of 1.78% interest rate. 1.78. Yeah. Fine, Cat, right? And I think he said in this methodology that we're using, or I'm just explaining, I think he said he accrued $20.2 million of equity to him. 20.2 million, call it 20 million equity to him, which sounds about right. It sounds about right. And he's a property, real estate mogul, if you will, or junior mogul. He's not quite a mogul yet, but he's a junior mogul. And And then you just keep doing it. And you make the most money. I didn't understand this when Gratsos told me this about vis-a-vis the Greek shipping model. You make the most money when you get tired and bored of it and you think about diversifying. Everybody says diversify, and the shipping guys don't diversify. The story he gives or tells, we started Olympic Airlines years ago, and we lost a couple $100 million, and we ultimately gave the airlines back to the government. We built Olympic Towers, big building. At that time, it was only 40% full, 60% empty. We don't know how to fucking rent a building. And we don't trust any of the other guys enough to hire somebody, Cobalt Bank or somebody to rent it. So we're fucked, okay? And every time we want to diversify, it's because we're shitting money. And, well, we got to do something with the money. He says, we're better off with cash. That resonated with me. We're better off with cash. And but I mean, because it's not a return on your investment, guys and gals, it's a return of your investment. So what better thing that guarantee your return in cash? Now, we had a bunch of guys put a bunch of money in Cyprus 8 or 10 years ago. And I told them not to. They were getting 18, 19% on their money. And they woke up on a Monday and they had devalued the money 60%. So their 20 million went to 8 million. But they got, and they took all the interest. So whenever you're getting an inordinate amount of money vis-a-vis interest, there's a reason. You can get 18, 20% in some of the banks in South America. But you got to check every afternoon whether it's still there. Now, I said a couple of days ago, when the Forex commercials in America that say, if you read the fine print at the bottom, 87% of all Forex transactions end in a loss. Yet there's hundreds of billions of dollars doing Forex transactions. Just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean it's a good idea. And I like the big banks and the big currencies. And I recommend that you get your money in the big banks and the big currencies. And the big currencies are the pound, the dollar, the Swiss franc, and the euro, although the euro is having trouble now. But those are the 4 big currencies.
Not Singapore dollar?
What?
Singapore dollar?
No, I don't like Singapore dollars. It's strong currency, but I just don't like it. Yeah.
So you're saying when you get the loans from the banks, you're asking to have it in dollar pounds?
No. I'm telling you to put your money. Your money. And and the strongest banks give, you pay negative interest. You pay to have their money. We have money in Monte Carlo, and we pay them to keep the money. Because but what is 1 or 2%? If you got 1 or 2% on your money, what does it get you? Nothing. It takes 50 at 2%. It takes 50 years for your money to double. But most of you are on the 50 to never plan to be rich. Closer to never than 50 years. And when you sit back and think about it, and you go back and take a look at your stock portfolio, we've had a bull market 11 years. Go back and see what your portfolio was worth 11 years ago, and go back and see what it is worth today. You should have, had a bonfire with your money. And are you any really closer to retirement 11 years later? The answer is almost always no. Write that down, Doc. Now remember, when I said, how many more years are you going to cut on people? And you said maybe 10, maybe 15?
Yeah.
15 max, right?
No, more.
But you're going to have to. And if he has to, and he makes a lot of money, I mean, of course, it's depending on what your lifestyle is. If your lifestyle is, now this is an exaggeration, a $750 a month apartment. And I used to say Venice, California, but now Venice is trendy. Now it's $7,000 a month. But when I started the seminar, I saved $750 a month. And that's where Schwarzenegger, that's where Sylvester Stallone used to live down in Venice by these little apartments that are not, now they've been ripped down, condos and townhouses have been built. Okay, so now we have got the model cookie cutter. Don't deviate. And in 5 to 7 years, you know you're going to exit. But how are you going to exit? It's not always IPO is a pain in the ass to be IPO now, to be a public company, and you're going to be the biggest shareholder. Now, I'm going to give you some sad news. You go public, let's say you go public for $1 billion. And you're going to sell between 10 and 20% of the stock to the public. 10 to 20%. That means only at the maximum 10 to 20% of your shares. Let's just say you have 50%. Let's make it simple. So you're going to be able to sell 10% of your shares to the public. So you're still going to have 40%, right? Which are illiquid. 100%. And they look at it, they frown upon major shareholders, founding shareholders selling stock. They don't only frown upon it, most of the investment banks don't allow it. So now you've reached your lifetime goal of being the major shareholder of a public company, and you got no liquidity. Aren't you lucky? Okay? But you want to be able to hypothecate your shares. On the back of the certificate, I'm pretending like I have a stock certificate in my hand, there's going to be a legend that says you are the real bearer of this, is the real owner, blah, blah, blah. And these shares listed on the opposite side of the certificate can be hypothecated, leveraged, borrowed against. So then you can live large before you sell the stock. But if you can't borrow against the stock and it's stiff stock, it's called stiff stock, meaning you can't sell it. I mean, you're asset rich and cash poor. I know a lot of developers like that. Asset rich and cash poor. Yeah. Asset rich and cash poor. So your lawyer, and more specifically your law firm, if it's got a half a brain, when you tell them, when you're setting up the company and they're going to issue shares, I want to be able to borrow against these. Leverage and borrow them. If you want to use a high price word, hypothecate. That's a little too much for the Dutch market. You better not say hypothecate. Okay. Now, so you can go public, you can have an industry sale, or you can have a strategic sale, which is like an industry sale. In some cases, for the lower amounts, you just sell out to a private equity fund, because they will pay you twice as much money as you paid them, because you've done all the work putting these 20, 30, 40, 50 companies together. You've done the grunt work that they don't want to do. And then they will blow out your board, like I said a couple of days ago. Maybe not you. Blow out your board. And they will replace them with board members that they have on their closet boards, because they have boards for healthcare, they have boards for this, they have boards for that. And then they will pump it up. They will bolt on other acquisitions. They will double it up, and then they'll take it public. So you can buy shit at, let's say, 5 times EBITDA. They may, private equity may pay you 10, 12 times EBITDA, and then they take it public at 20 times EBITDA. Now, some of the sellers that you're going to come up against will have looked in the newspaper and see, like, Cardinal Health sells at 13 times EBITDA. Well, why can't I get 13 times for my home health? Well, and with one word, liquidity. You can buy and sell Cardinal Health on the New York Stock Exchange. You have nobody you can buy and sell it to other than me. And so, and when you walk them through that and you show them the examples, there's no correlation. But that's normally, when they tell you they went 15 times, it's because an uncle, a cousin, a nephew has showed them what the shares sell for in the public market. Okay, YouTube, thank you.